Hello and welcome to Awakening 101 podcast. Joining me and Pernilla Burke, the founder and the creator of Awakening 101. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
I
fine.
love you.
How are you? Oh, I love it too.
Good.
Oh, we love the lung bobbing. So people that are completely new, listen to this podcast for the first time. Would you like to just say some, tell me shortly, intention with our podcast?
What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we
doing? Yeah. The podcast Awakening Process 101 is intended to be a conversation and like a exploration of the concept of Awakening 101, which is that we as human beings, modern human beings, regular human beings, can also find awakening moments in our daily lives. And that it's not just for people who spend their entire life focusing on spirituality or religion or whatever. The intention is that my journey was a journey of coming from a very low point that we talk about of addiction and depression, coming to this place where I am now, where I have a very I'm very present, connected, content human being. And it's been a long journey, but I found through that journey that it's the experience through my life, the obstacles that I've discovered, that I can find moments of learning and moments of awakening. And that is a gift, of course, from the universe. So all of those experiences, together with the information that I have found and tapped into and discovered through this journey, has all been collected onto a website that it's called Awakening 101. But it's actually not just a website, it's a concept. Awakening 101. So the podcast came out of this idea that how can we bring it to conversation? So again, so that the idea is not far-fetched. How can we talk about it in a way where we can understand it better? So it's not something that is removed from us. It's over here. I read about it. But through conversation, I feel like it becomes more real in our lives. And that's what we're doing here. Louise is my best friend since I was 4 years old. Our paths have been extremely similar. We grew up in Sweden. We went to the same school. We both struggled with depression, and we started experimenting with alcohol and drugs at a very young age. And then we both had our journey through addiction in different geographical places, but we've always been connected by our souls. And then we became sober at the same time in the summer of 1998, her a month before me. And then I became a yogi, she became a Buddhist, and then life has given us, or we have been looking for those gifts. You know, it's not like you're just given stuff. Like if you're constantly looking to find these awakening moments around you in your life, the universe responds. So here we are, and we're really a perfect match to have this conversation because we know each other so well. She tells me when I'm boring, and I laugh at her, and it's just a way for us to bring everybody to a place where they feel connected to these things that we're talking about, bringing it down to like just a regular level. So that's what this podcast is about. And the theme or the concept of Awakening 101 is that it's for everybody. And I think I did it. Is that it?
Yeah, okay. You did it. I want to stop you on certain points just to, to sort it out, because you talked about connection, you're talking about awakening, and you're talking about universe gave it to us. I think that could be, sometimes I can feel that universe just gives me shit. I think certain people can relate to that too. Can we, I would like you to tap in, to define, you know, when we become more awake, what does it mean, the connection with yourself, and how that energy or rhythm is in flow with the universe. So do you understand what I'm asking for?
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
maybe simplify it a little bit for people who, for them, it's maybe abstract to say, well, the universe gives us, you know, I love that. Universe gives us what we need to, and I truly believe that, but it
No,
took
but
some
I
time.
think that the universe also gives us shit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole point, right? I mean, that's the whole point,
Yeah.
right?
But
So
universe wants us well. I mean, there's no evilness in the universe.
yeah, but it still gives us shit. So
yeah.
so it's a
Or
yin and a
life
yang.
gives us shit, maybe.
Yeah, but I think they're the same.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
You know, the shit is there to teach us stuff. You know, and again, we've talked about this in previous podcasts. Like there's you can reason in this realm for a lot of things, but you also, there's certain things that happen that is really hard to justify. It's like, oh, universe just gave me a gift, but there's a war in my country. Like it's tough. So it's a tough conversation. But if we just bring it to sort of our, not bubble, but our, what we're trying to do here, to say, okay, the regular life obstacles, like the things that we've gone through, addiction, depression, other difficulties with money or relationships, all of these things, difficult relationships. This is what we're given for me, this is how I've seen it. This is what we were given so that we could learn, right? And most of the time, I would say up until a few years ago, every time something happened, I'd be like, oh no, you know, and then you go, like you were talking about this morning, you got a bill from the bank that was completely out of the blue. And your usual reaction to that bill, because it was enormous, about interest expenses, is that you would just go into, what did you say, into red, right? You will go into red. And that's usually, for me, that's how I reacted to everything until a few years ago. And it could be little things too, like the Wi-Fi is turned off. And I literally go, it's like, you know, it's like my house just blew up and I go into full-blown panic. So these things were, so today you reacted in a way where you're like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm not going to go into red. So that's the process, right? Like over time, the shit comes and the obstacles arrive. And the moments of awareness, like the moment we have a gap between our reaction, or the moment something happens and our reaction to that, that little gap is a part of the awakening process. The moment, and you can call it in regular daily terms, the moment you have an inkling of mindfulness or a pause or something where you go, I received this bank letter. How can I work with this? And, you know, not let it throw me. So that's, did I answer your question?
Yeah,
I don't even know. I started over here, I ended up over here.
No. You answered my question. I think that's I mean, it's difficult to just be exactly precisely, because as everything in life, it's organic, it's moving, it's not stagnating. And I would say that your awakening process that you describe, and also inviting me on that journey, I would say that it's a process. So, it's these small gaps that you're talking about that also is the moment of maybe self-reflection. That is one of the tools and elements in the wheel. But I have a question, because we're talking about these awakening moments, and we're talking about how we becoming more aware of life, and about how we react. And yes, I would have reacted different years ago, and probably have been completely breathtaking, depressed, and just wanted to but now I could be in the reaction, which also must give me a possibility of how to respond to it, right? Instead of just reacting, you know what I mean? So instead of blowing up in the red field, I
the red field.
Yeah, but you know, and then so that's that. I guess that little gap that you're talking about is the gap that gives me the possibility to respond to my reaction.
Yeah, or the gap that puts you in your higher self mind. Right? Because if you're in your limited self, you only live within a reaction zone. There's no awareness there. The pause gives you a moment to step back into your higher self, into your soul self, and say, okay, how can I handle, how from back here you can walk forward. So
but that exactly, and but then I would say that if we should connect these, what we're talking about right now, with elements, that would be, you know, you mentioned connection already, that it's really to connect with my higher
to yourself.
self.
Yeah, to yourself.
But would you say connect to my higher self or to myself?
I mean, it depends. You could say, you know, it depends on, like, I say myself is one word, right? Like I can make this into like a whole thing, right? I would say this. It's either, okay. This is the most beautiful drawing you've ever seen.
Oh, very impressive. What's the little dot down there?
Yeah, this is the scribble. So you see myself with a small s, and then my dash self with a big S. Those are the different selves. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely, but keep it up there, because now I can allow myself to be the stupid one. So which one do I want to be?
The one with a large S. I mean, I want to be. It's not about wanting.
No,
it's about being.
Yeah, it's about being. But if I've been in the little self,
the pause gives you an opportunity to step back and connecting to your larger self.
Love it. That sounds so beautiful.
So, but before we move on, I want to just quickly, because you're moving ahead really fast, and I just want to stop for a second. So we are talking about the tools and the elements, right? And again, we have covered parts of this in the previous podcasts, but tools and the elements of Awakening 101 are ideas, concepts from a 101 perspective that you can look at to make it a simpler process. So when we were creating the website, I came up with all these names for the various points that I was writing about. So I wrote a blog about love. I wrote a blog about yoga. I wrote a blog about meditation, and all of these things became part of what we call the awakening wheel or the awakening mandala. It's a circle which has two things, tools, and the tools are things that you can do in order to strengthen the elements, right? So yoga, meditation, being in nature, all these things are tools that we use to get closer to our larger selves. And when we do that, we access aspects of ourselves like love, deeper connection, the ability to be present, the ability to be aware, right? So it's just a way to sort of like give you and me, as we like try to discuss and converse about these concepts, to have some sort of roadmap, right? Because spirituality has no roadmap. It is what it is, right? There's no 1, 2, 3, this is what you do. But in order to like sort of support the idea of Awakening 101, we came up with this wheel. And
you came up with that wheel.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, but that's brilliant. I think that,
but I'm talking about as we were producing the website,
Yeah. Okay.
You know, there was other people involved, like Britt
Yeah.
Olson, who was my editor, and Jill St. Clair, who's the website designer. So that's what we're talking about. So when we talk about tools and elements, that it's a part of a concept that is supporting Awakening 101. So
I think that's very clear. Very nice.
yeah. And then I have one more thing I want to say, but you can go first.
No, but that's okay.
Okay.
You drop in.
Yeah. And so we're talking about the moments, right? Like the awakened moments. So when do we come to a place where we're like, oh, there it is, you know? Or like, when does the sort of like the dial go from living moment to moment only in reactive mode to a moment on the other end where we can actually access that part of ourselves that can pause, right? And I think, to be honest, I feel like you don't notice in real time, you don't notice the small beginner ones until later, right? We talked about the reading of Siddhartha when I was 14, or lots of things like the day I got sober and what happened during that day in order for me to actually give up and surrender were moments of awakening. And like, I didn't get that then. I didn't understand any of this. Like, it was just another day, right? But then years later, when I sit down and go, oh, holy crap, there was moments throughout that first day of sobriety where I really, really was something different happened, awakening moments. So it's not that it just switches one day. I think it's sort of like little things happening throughout your life. And then one day you go, oh, wait. But I guess the other basic point of Awakening 101 is that maybe by learning these tools and understanding the various concepts, maybe, my greatest wish and intention would be that we, as whoever listens, can start accessing and seeing these moments a little bit earlier.
Earlier than us.
Yeah, for me, it took like 25 years, but yeah, maybe.
But it's never too late. It's never too late, right?
Yeah, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
No, of course not. So,
but if we should tap in a little bit deeper to the wheel, because I think that you really nailed it, if I can have that expression, when you said that the tools is what we can do to kind of reach the elements, and these are connected in that sense of how I can find this moment of awakening in my daily life, right?
Yeah.
And I also think that you mentioned what I think which I'm in the process right now, that I'm not striving to achieve anything specific on my spiritual path, but more using the element of surrender and be in trust that the things are coming up, which is a huge difference of what I used to live my life. It's much more calmer, it's an ease, but it doesn't stop me to receive from life challenging moments, because life is full of challenges moments. And I also comparing this, listen, to one of, to my second son, who meets everything with resistance, which I also did. I always expected the worst of everything instead of trusting people. I was mistrusty. What I wanted to say with this is that the small, you more we can work with the wheel of Awakening 101, you more that can help you to tap into the small awakening during your day.
Yeah, at least that's what we want, right? That's why we're even here. That like I said, my intention is that maybe it will help you, right? To see, okay, just like sort of like put a word to, or make it it's a circle. The awakening mandala is a circle, but it's also and it is linear in the realm of spirituality, because in the realm of spirituality, there's no circle, there's nothing. It's just a spider web of stuff, right?
Which
So,
also means that you can go inside and out. You can also go from the elements to the tools, right?
Yeah.
So there is no direction.
I think what we'll do is we're going to put a link in the description directly to the wheel, so that people can look at it, because it's easier maybe to understand what the hell we're talking about if you can look at it.
Yeah, but also just to be able to print it out and put it on your fridge, it's a good reminder. I think that and as you mentioned, we had tapped into many of them, but there is a depth in each one of them, so there is no ending story, or we can always relate to our daily experience today and connect it. Okay, what did I observe in this? How did I connect? Why did I surrender? I used a meditation, or in and out.
But I think that also sounds like a lot of work. I mean,
to print it out?
To be that self-reflective, like you're just talking about.
Yeah.
Like that's only like people like you spend your whole day like thinking about these things. That's going to actually do that. Check it out is all I have to say. But so, because it's a little also like it doesn't. I don't want to make it so much that you have to like. It's too much work kind of thing. It has to be
easy,
smooth.
Smooth. Yeah. But I know what we mentioned this also. Certain people will go through life without having the urge to awake, and some people has a seeking spirit, as you mentioned already from your teens, that what's the purpose of life? Why am I here? We're having all these questions. And to someone who, I think it's so interesting because people would listen, as you said, on the first row, on the second row, on the third row. Some might be on the 10th row. That's okay. But if you listen to this with an open mind, there will always be something that you can, take with you and cultivate in your way. This is, you can do whatever is good for you, right?
Yeah. That's what we hope. You were talking about seeking spirit, right?
Yeah.
That some people are more that way than others, blah, blah, blah. But I really seriously want to, like, again, go back to the fact that, so Louise and I, even though we had, quote, the seeking spirit, we had no fucking clue that we did for a very long time. So if you and I had said when we were 14 that we would be sitting here talking about these things, we would be like, "What? Are you nuts? Are you nuts?" I wrote a blog about meditation, which is meditation is my passion in life. And I wrote a blog about it, and I'm sort of blown away by the fact that that's what I do every day now, right?
How do you do that, please?
No, but listen. So if you had told me that when I was like 20 years old, standing on a speaker in Ibiza, high on ecstasy, that I would spend, 45 minutes to an hour every day of my life sitting cross-legged quietly, I would have been like, are you nuts? So just the realizations, the self-reflection that we're talking about now is only coming in hindsight. And it's coming, like, for me, it's because I wrote about, like, when I created a website, I wrote 60 blogs, and it all came out, and I was like, discovered this, and I discovered that, and I discovered this. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you know or don't know that you have a seeking spirit, it doesn't really matter.
If you look back, don't you feel in your heart somewhere that you had that there was something missing?
No, I did that so Swedish. You said something that I agreed with, and I responded with a no. You were
That
like
sounds
saying
like
something, and I'm
that
like,
sounds,
instead of saying yes, I go, no, yes, you're right. It's so funny. Sweets always
as I
say,
always
start
say,
with
this
a no.
sounds like my mom.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, of course, you're completely right. That's what I'm saying. But I didn't know it then. You know, I didn't know it then. So,
But don't you have one memory from your childhood where you were maybe before teenager, like, you know, memory from when you were 5, 6, or 7, where you kind of had a connection with nature that you were not aware of it then, maybe, but afterwards there
no,
was
of course.
mm,
Exactly. Annabelle, the horse, we talked about this before. Yeah, of course. But I didn't know that then. It's only now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, wow, that was definitely a moment.
because
So,
I think actually that I think when I remember when I was 5, 6 years old, before starting, you know, in our kindergarten out in Djurgården, I was on this daycare down by Diplomatstan, and I remember I was going away from the children, and I was sitting myself on a stone down by the water, you know, with Djurgårdskanalen, and at that moment I realized there was something missing inside.
that's incredible.
Mm.
That's incredible. Yeah.
But my parents also put me into, you know, to church school every Sunday when we were small. So, you know.
Oh, God. How did that go?
But I realized that they wanted to have peace that time. So that's why we were there. But, you know,
Oh, you mean they wanted to like find a babysitter on Sunday?
Exactly. And but I mean, they both come from quite, you know, we always went to church for Christmas and stuff like that. But I mean, I remember that my whole, the whole scene of Christianity was so fake, or, you know, when was this God that was sitting on a cloud and he was supposed to make me happy? I mean, they couldn't talk into my heart. That was, you know, so that
No.
was, and I think that's what I think we do, depending on what religion you are tapping into this awakening process. I mean, doesn't matter what religion you practice, the awakening we share, everyone shared this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I think what you said there is that the way that religion was taught in Sweden was not accessing the heart. So for us, it was just like another subject matter in school kind of thing, where they said a bunch of stuff and we were supposed to remember it, but it had nothing to do with how we felt, or it didn't create any sort of like innate value in us. So, but it's interesting because I never forget, I went to a place called Yogaville. It's in Virginia. And I can't remember the Swami that created that place, but it is really in the middle of nowhere. And I went because Sally Kempton, my teacher, was there for a weekend. So I drove down. It took me like 8 hours from here in New Jersey. And they had built this, and I'll figure this out later, what Swami it was, but a giant dome that looked like a lotus flower.
wow.
Literally with a Shiva lingam, like it was a whole hundreds of meters of this pathway into this large dome. And if you looked at it from the outside, it looked like a lotus flower, but inside was, in the middle, it was like a round room, right, with different little oh God, I can't find the words, but it was like it displays around the room, and in each display was a description of all the religions of the world. So it had everything, even, you know, like Native American religions and, you know, Islam and Buddhism and everything that you could possibly imagine in one big round circle around the room, and each display. And in the middle of the room was a beam of light that went into the sky.
And I get goosebumps by you saying this.
It was unbelievable. And the point was that in this in all of this, we are in the heart, we're connected by the same. And that is the beam of light that goes into the sky. Right. And I'll never forget it because it was so powerful stuff. And it's a shame it's in the middle of nowhere, because it's like, otherwise I would visit, often. But it's an incredible place.
Wow.
Yogaville, it's called.
Yogaville.
So,
maybe there's some pictures that I can look up. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. But that's the idea, right? How do we, through whatever spiritual practices, find that place within the heart so that we can actually connect with it, with our being, and not with our mind? Because it's not the mind. The mind doesn't actually access that higher self. Thoughts, as we say, are in the way, right? For us to feel that thing. Coming back to meditation, I mean, that's why meditation is so powerful, because it's like you actually find a place where you can, you start seeing that there's something that is behind your mind, that behind the thoughts that is holding all of this. There's an energy behind it all. Like, where does your thoughts come from? Right? Sally would always ask us, where do they begin? Well, they begin out of nothing, right? Or you can call it nothing, or the larger self, or you can call the nothing, the self, the space, whatever it is. And they're created because we have so much trapped emotion in the body, right? So that's why
I back to meditation and to the heart, because I do this mindful walking meditation in Through Heaven here, that we walk for 2 hours in silence. And I always do the introduction, but it's wonderful. I wish you could join once, it's amazing. But I always start by saying, very often we go for nice walks, but we walk with our mind. We don't walk with our body. We don't walk with our heart. So see if you can allow yourself to experience the nature with the heart. Like, you see things, but instead of just seeing it and getting up in your head, bring it down, experience it with your body, experience it with the heart. And the funny thing is that people really, I think, get it quite quickly. And I had 2 younger daughters who came with their mothers. And one of the daughters said, after the walking meditation, it's like, wow, this was better than any movie. I can just feel a whole different space in my heart, And the other, and they were only 20, and the other lady, they didn't know each other. And the other girl, she said, I would never walk in nature in the same way as I did before.
Yeah.
And that is, it's that's so wonderful when you get in, when you're getting them understanding or an experience that your thoughts are there, they're passing through us like our emotions, but there is something that you were talking about, and the ticket or the entrance to that behind is through meditation.
Well, yeah, it doesn't have to be meditation though.
No.
It can be other things. Yeah, but that's after 25 years of working at this. I mean, in the beginning, and I write about this too. It's like, when I started meditating, which was 20 years ago, I would meditate for a minute in the morning and then a minute in the afternoon. That was like, 2003 maybe. And those were the worst minutes of my day, because it was like, my mind was going 190, but it still helped.
But what made you do that? What made you have the will to put down?
Yeah. I think it was because at that point, I had been in AA for 5 years. And the 11 steps sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. Okay. And I had already, then I had been doing yoga for 3 or 4 years too, like almost every day. Right. So I think somebody just recommended, like, hey, take the big book and read page 89 and then meditate for a minute. And so I did it. And of course, I thought it didn't help, but it did. It did. And it's been a long journey. And I think that, like, meditation for a very long time for me felt like a lot of work, and it was really hard. And had I not met Sally, maybe I would have given up. Who knows? You know, it's important to find something to somebody's maybe, you know, we don't always have to find a live teacher, but somebody's teachings or somebody's that's been gone this path before us that you sort of can hook onto and be like, okay, here's a guideline, here's a roadmap, right? Like you have your Buddhist chants that you do every day. Something that you could sort of like help you set you in your path.
Your foundation, yeah.
Yeah, it's a foundation. And
just a quick question. You said that read it on page, I can't remember, and
page 89, upon awakening.
And then of course my little briny, could you jump from if you're new into recovery, for example, this sounds exciting, can you jump from step 1, 2, and 3 to 11?
No,
because
there's
that's
no jumping
the
around.
awakening process. The funny thing is, I mean, I can allow myself to be a little bit stupid and ask questions.
Yeah, no, if we talk about the 12 steps, you know, I could say that I was a slow learner. I resisted everything. I like to go to meetings because, you know, I had been a party girl. So that was like my way of seeing people, you know. So like I moved to LA when I had 18 days sober from New York City. And I had been a doorman at a nightclub for 6 years. And all of a sudden, I stopped doing drugs, right? So I moved to LA because I thought that, hey, I got a job as a doorman in Hollywood at a new club there. And that's why it began the move. But I also thought, hey, I'm going to be a movie star. Great idea. Yeah. Because back then I was delusional. So meetings for me at that time, it was, hey, I mean, getting sober in Los Angeles was like the greatest gift because it was fun. But meetings for me were a social gathering. So I went to the cool meetings and blah, 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 blah. And we had the rodeo meeting back then, which was like hundreds and hundreds.
I joined you for the meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You went to rodeo, right? Exactly. It was fun. So it took me a really long time to actually assimilate the 12 steps, the steps themselves, right? And I had to go through in early sobriety. I also went to business school, which is, you know, my dad was like, we got to figure something out. The whole movie star thing wasn't working. You know, I barely had any money. So, and I wasn't, acting is not my thing. I just wanted to be famous. Like that's what I thought was a good idea back then. But the first 5 years of sobriety, I basically was horribly depressed, living day to day, trying to survive. I had no money. You know, it just was awful. I was like, I was suicidally depressed for most of it. And it was a hard time. I went through a phase where I were getting these giant pimples on my cheeks. I think it was like a detoxing thing. And they were like the size of a quarter. And I remember like going to like get cortisone or whatever, or antibiotic shot I was like sobbing because I thought, and my teeth were messed up. Like I had like 16 cavities when I got sober. You know, I was completely physically destroyed too. It wasn't just that emotionally destroyed with the depression that I suffered. It was also like physically, you know, like I couldn't sleep. My teeth were completely destroyed. I had these big welches coming out of my skin. I mean, it was just a horrible time. But I had about 5 years sober. Around that time, I had a male friend who was like, maybe you should actually read the big book. Because I did step 1 in the first year, but of course I don't remember anything. I don't remember shit, right? I was like, oh, what are you talking about steps?
Can you just repeat step 1 as we talk? Can you say?
Admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable, right? Like of course I had done that because I went to the meetings, right? I had stopped drinking. You know, I stayed sober from day 1. But when I got to the year 5 and I actually read the big book, and I was like, oh, AA is about a spiritual solution. And I had been to enough yoga, and like you said, we had this seeking spirit. So I got it then. I wouldn't have gotten it. I didn't get it before then. I wasn't ready to understand what the hell they were talking about. And then I think was when I'd done all the steps, but I didn't get it. So they have to be done over and over again. But it was that year that I went through and did another full 4th step and a sex inventory, which it sounds sort of out there, but that is when you look upon all your relationships in detail. How did I affect this? How did I cause jealousy? What was my end? What was my part in this? And I realized that in all my relationships, I had been the cause of most of the suffering. Right? It was me. And literally, when I read this 4th step to my sponsor, Alexa, it was like that was one awakening moment. Like the earth stood still for a split second when I realized, oh shit, it's me. I'm the cause of all this dysfunction. And I think that doing that, and then I met my husband like a few months after that, and we've been married ever since. But I think that when that happened, I realized the power of the steps because it changed so much for me that then as the years went by, I did like 10-step workshops. I mean, I've done, so I realized that they're set up in this way, 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, because of a reason. Yeah, it's a process that Bill Wilson, who's a complete genius, he set it up that way so that it would be gentle, so that we would have
It
time.
is genius. It is the best. It's the best tools ever.
Yeah.
The best.
So he set it up that way so that we would come into this process of awakening in a gentle manner. And understand, most of the people that come into AA are completely on one side of the spectrum that is far out there, right? It takes a lot for us to be reeled back in. It doesn't have to be like that for everybody. We start at whatever we're starting at, whatever the starting point is. But just to end this part about the 12 steps, and I don't even know where we began. These days, and I don't talk about them so much anymore because my spirituality is so all encompassing, but the 12 steps, at some point you shift into what people are like, oh, what step are you on? And I'm like, well, I'm on all of them all the time. All of them all the time. I surrender. I realize I'm powerless.
But you can say that after so many years of working the steps and sobriety.
Yeah. It took me I would say at least 15 to 20 years to get to the place where it's all of them all day long. But it took me a while to, like I said, at least 5 years into sobriety to even understand what the hell they were. I didn't understand.
It's also the best prayer. We already had done the prayer once, but I think we should do the prayer again.
No, I don't think so. No one wants to hear the serenity prayer.
Well, we love the serenity prayer. I can do it in French.
I know, but it's, like AA also has a lot of people get funny about it. Some people have had bad experiences there, and they feel like,
yeah, of course,
it's a lot about God, and they get rubbed the wrong way. So I don't want to. I want to be responsible to those and allow for that. But that's okay too. Not everybody. It doesn't click for everybody. So this is not a podcast that is leaning towards that. It's what we did, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. No, exactly. No. Exactly. But I think, though, that we could say that both of us have so much experience of different therapy and different way of working with ourselves. So, and me not being part of the program anymore, but still having a huge amount of gratitude and respect for the steps. I think, it's I mean, and so if you do want to work in one way or another, that for free, and it's a great tool. But I think we park that
we parked
first step. We always going to tap in and out to that, because that's part of our journey, and that's the experiences that took us to where we are today, or part of the experiences that took us where we are today. So if we want to wrap up.
Oh God, are we wrapping up already? Jesus, that was so fast.
Up. I know, we're wrapping up. Just to say, what would we do? What did we go through today shortly?
Just
what
babble
will be,
away.
The gifts that you can take with you. That there is something that you can cultivate, maybe to listen to the next podcast, if you just want to be curious about your own spiritual journey or your awakening journey. Should we do a little short recap?
Yeah, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go first, and I'm gonna stop you when you talk too much.
Yeah. Talk too much. I never talk, so this is like crazy that we're sitting here. Yeah, I'm just like quiet all day. So I think that if I were to sum up, and unfortunately, my memory sucks. I can't even remember what we talked about for the last hour. But realizing that it takes time, or if you don't see these glimpses or moments now, it doesn't matter. I think that just having a sort of a faith in your heart that if you're actually even listening to this, your higher self is probably has a little bit of a plan that okay, well, maybe I'm learning something, so that through this next week, my eyes are a little bit more open to seeing the moment that we talked about when Louise saw her bank statement and didn't go into the red field, like we call it. To have just a little bit more awareness through the week of going, okay, what could be these moments? Where can I find a little bit more space between the incident that's happening to me and my reaction? It's beginning awareness and self-reflection on your daily life. Good,
which
bad,
will bring you
in the middle.
No, but I think it's perfect, which will also bring you to a deeper connection with yourself, and which is one of the elements in the wheel, and that's also what we covered, and what we try to insert here, so you can get the map. If not, it is on the website, where you can find the tools and elements and also read about them. And maybe you should just focus on one or two, or just one, and see what's resonating.
Well, maybe this week is you only focus on the pause, moment of pause.
Yeah.
Pausing before reacting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. I think this is.
I love you, baby.
I love you so much. This is such an honor, and we love you, everyone who's listening. Also, peace and love.
See you later.
See you later.
Puss, puss.
Puss,
Puss,
puss.
puss.